The mechanic beneath the bridge. Beneath an old bridge on the outskirts of Manchester, the sound of clanking metal mixed with the wind each morning. Inside a small shelter made of rusted tin and weather-worn tarps, a young man named Ethan bent over a broken motorbike. Grease stained his hands. Dust covered his shirt, yet his eyes shone with something pure and steady, the light of someone who refuses to give up. Just a few years ago, Ethan had been an eager technician at a small factory. When the company shut down, he lost everything: his job, his home, and eventually his sense of direction. For months, he wandered the streets looking for work. Each rejection was another nail in the coffin of his hope. One stormy night, drenched and exhausted, he found refuge under this very bridge. That night, the hum of passing cars above became a lullaby of survival. From then on, the bridge, cold, dark, and forgotten, became his home. At first, Ethan simply helped stranded riders who happened to stop near the bridge. All he had was an old wrench, a broken screwdriver, and determination. But each time he fixed a motorbike, he felt as though he was repairing something inside himself too. If I don't have the right tools, he thought, then I'll make my own. He began collecting scraps from junkyards, bent steel rods, old bolts, cracked handles. Every night, he welded and reshaped them by the dim light of a single bulb powered by a car battery. Weeks turned into months. One day, he finally finished his invention, a set of recycled repair tools that could cut repair time in half. People started noticing the mechanic under the bridge. Some came out of curiosity, others came out of kindness. When someone offered him extra money, he would smile gently. "Keep it. Just drive safe. That's all the payment I need." In a world that often measures worth in numbers, Ethan chose to measure his ingratitude. One afternoon, as he worked on a motorbike, a small boy stood silently nearby, watching. His name was Tommy, a scruffy, barefoot street kid who lived under the same bridge with a few other orphans. After a long pause, the boy finally asked, "Mister, can you teach me how to fix bikes like you?" Ethan looked at him, at those eyes filled with both hunger and curiosity, and nodded. "Sure, but first," he said with a grin, "you've got to learn how to keep your hands clean, even when they get dirty." From that day on, Tommy became his little apprentice. More kids joined, drawn by the spark of something new: purpose. Ethan taught them how to listen to the sound of an engine, how to find what's broken without tearing everything apart. Fixing a machine, he told them, is like fixing life. Sometimes all it takes is tightening the right screw, not rebuilding the whole thing. The bridge, once a symbol of despair, began to echo with laughter and clinking tools. Those small hands, once begging, were now creating. Those lost eyes, once empty, now gleamed with the reflection of hope. One freezing winter morning, a local journalist happened to pass by. He stopped his car, astonished by what he saw. A young man in a torn coat, surrounded by kids, fixing bikes under a bridge dusted with frost. He snapped a few photos and wrote an article titled, "The Mechanic Beneath the Bridge, the Warmest Place in Manchester." The story spread quickly. People began visiting, bringing spare tools, food, and warm clothes. An old garage owner even donated a full set of professional equipment. But Ethan refused to take it all for himself. "Thank you," he said, pointing toward the children, "but give it to them. They're the real future, and I'm just teaching them to believe again." Soon, the space beneath the bridge became a small training workshop. Walls made of tin, benches from old crates, and a wooden plank that served as their chalkboard. Ethan had become what no one ever expected, a teacher without a classroom, but with a heart big enough to light one. 3 years later, the bridge still stood, but the man beneath it had built something far greater, a community mechanic center offering free vocational training to homeless and at-risk youth. Tommy, now a young teenager, stood beside him as an assistant instructor. He proudly helped newcomers learn how to change tires, handle tools, and respect the work they did. During the opening ceremony, a reporter asked Ethan, "You could have opened a business, made a fortune. Why give it all away?" Ethan smiled and glanced at the river flowing beneath the bridge. "Because I started from here," he said softly. "Sometimes the river must flow backward just to find where it began." He wasn't trying to be poetic. It was simply the truth. Success to him wasn't about escaping the bridge. It was about bringing light back to where darkness once lived. As the sun dipped behind the city skyline, warm light streamed through the workshop windows. Children's laughter filled the air as they completed their first fully repaired motorbike built entirely from recycled parts. Ethan stood at the doorway, arms crossed, a quiet pride rising in his chest. A new student approached timidly and asked, "Sir, how did you stop being afraid of failing?" Ethan chuckled, his voice calm, steady. "Once you've lived under a bridge," he said, "failure doesn't scare you anymore. You just keep building until the light finds you." Tommy laughed. The others joined in. Outside, the wind carried the scent of oil, iron, and hope. The same river that once witnessed his loneliness now reflected the golden shimmer of twilight, as if the world itself was bowing to his resilience. Sometimes the river flows backward, not to rebel, but to return to its source. True strength is not in rising above others, but in rising from the lowest place and reaching back for those still there. Ethan's bridge was never just a shelter. It became a symbol of rebirth. Beneath the roar of passing cars, one man rebuilt more than engines. He rebuilt lives. Story: The Seamstress Under the City Lights. In the heart of New York City, where the skyline glows like a crown of dreams and ambition, there lived a young woman named Eleanor. She rented a tiny room in Brooklyn, barely big enough for a bed, a sewing table, and her hopes. By day, she worked in a garment factory, sewing hems and zippers for brands that would never know her name. By night, when the city finally grew quiet, she became someone else entirely. A dreamer, a learner, a designer of her own destiny. The factory was always loud, the constant rhythm of sewing machines like a heartbeat of exhaustion. Elena worked 12 hours a day, surrounded by tired faces and piles of fabric. Sometimes, she'd steal a glance through the dusty window and see the glowing skyline. It looked so far away, as if success only belonged to those who already had it. Elena once had dreams of becoming a fashion designer, but life had other plans. Her father passed away when she was 17, her mother fell ill, and she had to leave school. She crossed the ocean to chase a simple goal: survival. Yet something inside her refused to die. Each night, long after midnight, she opened her old, cracked laptop and watched design tutorials online. Her eyes burned, but her heart stayed awake. She practiced sketches, studied colors, and learned to shape fabric into meaning. She began saving the scraps of fabric thrown away in the factory, tiny pieces everyone else considered useless. "Someday," she whispered, "I'll turn these into something beautiful." One freezing night, she finally did. Her first creation, a patchwork dress, sewn from discarded fragments, pink, blue, and gold. The seams weren't perfect, the colors clashed, but when she looked at it under her lamp, it glowed. It wasn't just a dress. It was proof that something broken could still become beautiful. The next morning, she wore it to work. Her co-workers laughed. "Are you going to wear that on a runway?" one joked. Elena just smiled softly. "Maybe one day." They didn't understand. She wasn't just sewing fabric, she was sewing faith. That evening, as she walked home through Times Square, the city's neon lights bathed her face in color. She stared at the giant billboards, the elegant models, the luxury boutiques, a world that seemed untouchable. For a long moment, she stood there, her reflection blending into the glass of a fashion store window. Then she whispered to herself, "If I don't believe in me, no one ever will." That was the night Eleonora Handmade was born. She spent her nights creating and her mornings posting. Her tiny room became a workshop of dreams. Colorful threads hanging from every wall, rolls of fabric piled beside the bed, her sewing machine humming like a heartbeat of hope. She photographed her dresses and shared them online with captions written in English and Spanish. Dreams don't need luxury to shine. They just need courage to begin. At first, no one noticed. Few likes, fewer comments. But Elena kept going, because sometimes when the world is silent, faith must be loud. One day, a message arrived. A young photographer named Luca wrote, "Your designs tell stories. Would you let me photograph them?" Elena's hands trembled as she read the message. A week later, they met in Central Park. The morning sun poured over the grass as models wore Elena's handmade dresses, each one unique, imperfect, and full of soul. When Luca uploaded the photos, something unexpected happened. The internet noticed. Within days, fashion blogs shared her story. The girl who turned scraps into beauty. A month later, an email appeared in her inbox. New York Fashion Week. Invitation for emerging designers. Elena read it again and again, tears welling in her eyes. Her heart pounded as she remembered those endless nights, the exhaustion, the doubts, the loneliness. And now, the same hands that once stitched old fabric were about to touch the runway. Backstage was chaos, lights, makeup, models rushing, stylists shouting. Elena stood there trembling slightly, clutching a small piece of her first patchwork dress in her pocket, a reminder of where she came from. Then the lights dimmed, music rose. Her collection, From Scraps to Stars, began its first walk on the runway. The audience gasped. Applause erupted. Every dress shimmered under the lights, imperfectly perfect, just like her journey. When the show ended, a reporter approached her. "What kept you going when no one believed in you?" Elena smiled, her eyes glistening under the spotlight. "Because when the world turns its back, I learned to light my own way." Months later, Elena opened her own small studio. On the wall hung a framed photo of her first patchwork dress, and beside it, a quote written in her handwriting, "No light is too small to change the dark." Now she teaches sewing to immigrant women, mothers, dreamers, survivors. Her studio hums with laughter and the sound of sewing machines, a rhythm of second chances. And sometimes, when the city lights up at night, Elena looks out from her window, the same way she once did years ago, and smiles. Because she knows now, The brightest light doesn't come from the city. It comes from within. Final message. When the world forgets your name, don't fade into the dark. Light yourself up, stitch by stitch, dream by dream, until even the city of lights has to look your way.